Algorand, 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 large amounts, digital left the physical space, the community had to be great.
What is going on, everybody? We've got JT here, we've got David over at the Crypto for Change, and we've got C. Will with Passive Income Network. It is Algorand Mondays. What is going on, everybody?
Hey, yo, that intro.
Gets me hyped every time.
Every
Can't
time.
get
I
enough of
appreciate
it, right?
that you have that on there. But I'm good, y'all. I'm happy to be back in the lab. I'm back in P-Town with the fellas, and we live, and let's do it.
Yeah,
Heck yeah, it's
Algorand's
awesome.
pumping. So let's talk. We can talk some market sentiment.
Yeah, let's jump right into it. I mean, the market is looking fairly well today. I believe last time I checked, Algorand got back to about 40 cents. BTC
40
tried to crack 31K. I think it's sitting like 30 and a half, something like that. But yeah, how do you guys feel? Do you think you think we're back into a buying zone? Do you think this is a bull trap and we're going to go back down? How you guys feeling?
So far on I put out let's see where it's at. I put out a poll on my Twitter. 52% so far, 97 votes. 52% say it's a trap. 25% say ready for liftoff, and 21% say emotion, no damage. I would agree. I think we're in a trap, a bull trap, and that's just because it's low volume. There's not a lot of volume, even for Bitcoin standards. I feel, and Bitcoin is still in its range, right? It's at the top of the range, so very easily could just get hammered off that. And then if it drops, you're going to see algo starting to go right back down into 30 cents and possibly testing its lows. So yeah, I'm not super. I actually took a small short position this morning at with it where it's at. So we'll see how that plays out. But I definitely don't see us pumping. Crazy high. Obviously, I could be wrong. Not financial advice, but I think we're going to still be testing that 35 cents. It did bounce nicely off of it though when it retested it. So
Yeah, I feel the same. I agree with you. I'm looking for Algorand to run back into 35 cent. I actually also took a tiny short position at about 40 cent to see if I can make a little algos on the way down. But yeah, I think it's a bear trap, right? Or what we call it, a bull trap right now. I think this
Yep.
is a fake out. Overall, just like, looking at the market, we're still in a downtrend since November? Yeah, since all-time highs in November. So I don't see no reason why we wouldn't head back down in that direction. But in the meantime, yeah.
I will
Yeah,
say
I-
go ahead, JT.
No, I was just going to say, I mostly agree because the overall market sentiment is still down. There's a lot of catalysts for down pressure coming up, whether it be, this month's CPI readings or rate hikes. It still just looks like the rest of this year is going to be pretty brutal. And as C. Will mentioned, BTC is very much so in this range. It did have a nice pop up, but really it just got right back to the top of this range that we've been since about May 13th, May 12th, somewhere around. So getting close to a month that we've been ranging in this position. So I really wouldn't be surprised if we came back down to the lower end of this range. However, if I zoom out a little bit, I will say on the daily chart, we are having a nice breakout on the RSI, the Relative Strength Index, which this is a nice bullish indicator. And if I check out the dollar, right here, you'll see the dollar's sort of topping out and having a real nice pullback. It hasn't had a pullback like this in a while. And if the dollar did kind of peak and it does continue this downtrend, it could give at least opportunity for cryptos to rise in the meantime. The run might not be sustained, but there is an argument to be made that this month could at least have a relatively decent bullish path, which might get rejected later on. But I don't know. I agree with you guys that the sentiment is still bearish and things are probably bearish, but not enough to be placing a short bet on it, even though I kind of want to.
I still think, was saying right before we started, we're probably going to get a CPI reading for inflation. And then also, the Fed will have to determine if they're going to do more rate hikes before, Algorand has a lot of things, that are set to still come out, right? We still have the
Yep.
upgrade in transaction speed. We have the finality upgrade. There's obviously still a lot of news with LimeWire and what that partnership with UMG could look like. FIFA's partnership, Nigeria. Like there's a lot of things during the summertime or July, August that could be really bullish. But I do think even if we do see a pop, I mean, even the dollar chart right there, it looked like it's about to touch the. Is that the 50-day moving average or is that the 100 that you
It
had up
was
there?
50, but it's still a ways
50.
away from the trend line it was on
Yeah, so it's
starting in
like
like
we
June.
could see we could see a small pop still going up a little bit higher, but ultimately I think we're still going to be heading down to test if not retest that 34-35 cents area with the inflation and the rate hikes and what other negative news could come out. I'm still bullish on the other side of that. It might still be closer to November when all the other things kind of maybe come to a point. I do see a good rally coming. But I will say, even if you just look at the chart for Algorand and you zoom out, I mean, we definitely are in for a relief rally. So I've got, I've also been
Yeah.
buying it. I bought it 36 cents. I bought it 35. So if we run, hey, I've got some buys that were low that I can sell high and maybe I'll short it again on the way back down.
One of the reasons I'm still a little hesitant too is if I zoom out on this dollar chart right here, you can get a better view on it on the weekly, and you can see that we're starting. If we have a similar downturn to the last two times we kind of peaked back in April 2020 and December of 2016. We could have a long ways down, and this could have been the run, and the dollar could see a downslide for the next year or two, which wouldn't be too out of the normal for the dollar. And if you zoom out of that and look at some macro indicators like this RSI right here, you'll see it's fallen out of its uptrend on the weekly. It got to an extreme sell pressure zone right there. And same thing with the MACD, the moving average convergence divergence. They're looking like they're going to cross soon, which would be a macro sell signal. There hasn't been a cross like that really in this macro sell zone since 2015. So I am hesitant to be too bearish on the market right now. At least I do think we're in for a relief rally at least. And I still have my eyes set on November, but I do not think that we're going to have some extreme downside pressure at least this month.
Yeah.
So, question for y'all: do you y'all feel like these Algorand upgrades, like the 10,000 transactions, the 2 second finality, you think that would actually affect the retail market right now in the market?
In this
Retail
market,
investors?
probably not. I think it'll definitely see. Here's the thing. I think everything Algorand's doing now is what is going to make it an extremely great value proposition for the next bull market, and it's going to solidify the true believers. And it might bring over some people now, but it's going to change the game because the past bull market, when I was investing back in 2020, 2021, or whatever. Algorand in theory seemed great because on paper everything looked legit. It had the best founder, has one of the best teams, if not the best team, so forth. Fundamentals were great, but it had nothing going on. So we were all investing on what could be. Where in the future, next bull run, people will be investing on what is, as opposed to trying to theorize like what could be, as we were back then. So I do think the value proposition is going to be extremely different come next bull run.
I do know we have, like, if Algorand goes back to what, $253, that's like a 7x from here. So that's like a good sign.
Yep.
I
Yeah.
want one of those.
I,
And
I,
last time it went to what, 10 cent in the last, like, I guess bear market, and so that's again a big 12x that it made. So I'm loading up, y'all. I bought some more recently.
yeah, I don't really know if the like JT said, I don't know if the transaction speed and finality will really make a massive pop in price. Like I say, it could be what gets us back close to a dollar. Maybe there's enough momentum with those upgrades and maybe like I said with other things like FIFA and Nigeria and some of the other partnerships, LimeWire, UMG, Napster, things like that. If all together those can come out and they roll out smooth, I think we could definitely see Algorand get back to upper upper 80, 90 cents, maybe $1. But I mean, I just don't think, I'm still bearish. I don't know, maybe it's just the bear market's got to me, but I just feel like looking at it, and looking at how Algorand was during the last bear market, this could be something that we try to kind of trade sideways and up. But a lot of still, it's not. I just don't think it's going to be a spike up. Even though my pin tweet is still, hoping that we see Bitcoin rally at the end of the year and cryptos take off. I mean, we only saw that because of how much inflation, how much money was being printed and thrown in, all the stimulus and things like that. And I just don't know if we're going to get something that would really foster that type of growth per se.
Yeah, how I see it too, and I agree with you. I think we're still in this sideways or down. But I see that the transaction finality and all the upgrades are good for the institutional and VC investors. I think they care
Yep.
about that more. Um, we'll talk about some of the articles too about the new funds building. But I feel like they're looking at those type of metrics to see what projects or developers that can actually build and then have that powerful blockchain. So
Oh
I
yeah,
feel
I
like,
mean,
Yep.
yeah,
yeah,
for
you got to
the
think of
next
FIFA.
run,
Like
yeah,
FIFA, especially since they just, there's a lot of speculation, but they just got rid of that big partnership with EA for their video game, and they're obviously partnering with Algorand for the upcoming World Cup and possibly wallets. I mean, yeah, I that's why I do believe having that upgrade come in the summer before the World Cup is important because
yes.
it's like Paul Regal said with JT, it gives it makes sure that we're ready for when the transaction volume comes. Like even if it's not there now, later when the World Cup is here and more people are buying wallets or getting wallets to buy NFTs or tickets or whatever it may be, that is where it could be. There could be a lot of pressure, to push Algorand up.
Hey, JT, you still got that Solana stats I sent to you about all the downtime?
I could open it up for sure. Right before I do that, I just want to talk about Algorand just a little bit more. Here's Algo on the macro picture, and for a while we were stuck in this great uptrend, which clearly we broke around January of this year, and we've been this downtrend here depicted in white. And now I do think there's a relief rally coming in, but I also think we're going to get rejected on the top of this downtrend, which would likely be around like 62, 63 cents. And on the off chance that we somehow break this downtrend, I think we're just going to get rejected off of which would be a great pump, but I don't think we'd go up any higher than maybe like 160 if for some reason we break this downtrend. And I could see us getting completely rejected off of the bottom of this prior uptrend and continuing back down. But my true hypothesis, really, if you want my complete understanding
Yeah,
of
we
it,
want
is
the complete.
I really personally think we're going to see this bounce up. We're going to get rejected back off this macro downtrend we've been on since January and continue down to see lower lows. And what I'm hoping for is that we don't go any lower than 16 cents right here, which I don't think we will. But the macro low that Algorand's ever put in is around 10 cents. And as let's see, as C Will was saying, when we hit 10 cents, Algo went in to put in about a 2,800% gain after that, after we hit 10 cents. Now, if we put in a macro higher low, right here at 16 cents or higher, that'll still be better than this 10 cents. So on the macro level, we'll still be in a quote unquote bull run because we're having a higher low. And if we have a similar 2,800 run after that, we're looking at, let's see,
And
yeah, we're looking at about $5, as
No.
C. Will had mentioned before, which in my opinion is an absolute. Which that would be a great price for Algo, but I think the last bull run, Algo didn't get the love it deserved. So I think if it
No, not at
performed,
all.
even if it performed the same, which in my opinion wasn't great, we're looking at around $5 next bull run. And I think that was poor performance compared to other L1s, and I think it'll shine next time. So, I don't want to put too big a price targets on it, but I think the next bull run is going to be relatively exciting. But
let me
on that note,
Yeah, no,
let
you
me
I
say what
ask
you're
you
going
agree
to
with
this
say.
as
I'm going to look
well.
up
Just
the Solana stuff, and you
Yeah,
say what you're
just
going to
because
say.
you're about to show that, I want to ask this question for you guys as well. Then, how much do you think Algorand's potential, in getting noticed and more people using it, how much of that is based on or kind of tied to these other layer ones faltering. Like we're about to look at Solana's
Yes.
status being down. Obviously, Ethereum keeps postponing the merge. It's supposed to happen again later this year. You have a lot of other layer ones that are having issues, whereas Algorand seems to not be having them. What if the merge for Ethereum goes great? Everything looks awesome and it keeps pumping, and Solana fixes its issues and things like that. Does that make it harder then for Algorand to still get its market share? Or do you think some of these partnerships maybe that it's formed during this time are going to outweigh, even if these other layer ones are to get their stuff together?
Well,
As
the reason. Go ahead, JT.
I was basically just going to say, as I said before, I, I I do
Interrupted
think it's a
because you're bored. He's tapping in for the first time.
I I think it's going to be a multi-chain world, of course, and we've already mentioned that. But yeah, as I said before, during the last bull run, Algorand didn't have much going on, so it was easier to value these other chains that had a much bigger ecosystem, had more dApps. I mean, when we got in, there wasn't even the first dApp. I mean, we were excited for Yieldly to launch. I think Tinyman recently launched a little after we all
Yep.
got in, or around the same time. So there wasn't much going on in the ecosystem. So I'm really hoping by the next bull cycle, the ecosystem is so big, it's undeniable that there is a lot going on in this space. I think the value proposition is just going to be 10 times different, and I think it'll coexist with these other chains. I don't think it necessarily this like all or nothing mentality really needs to be there. I think there's going to be 10, 20, maybe even 30 chains that really rule the space in the end. So we'll see.
Yeah. So yeah, the reason why I'll say bring up Solana because I always like to compare the I will say competition of Algorand. Um, so Solana, what this uptime is showing that all the red ones are downtime. If you hover over one, it shows how many hours that it was pretty much down. And I think this is important when I always go back to what Sylvia was saying at SALT conference and all the other conferences. Like if you have 5 hours, 2 hours, 17 hours of downtime within your year and a half of being live, or on mainnet or beta net, it's a bad sign. Algorand
Yep.
has years of being up. So I just use that to point out the competition. Ethereum is still expensive. We still don't know if we get the merge. But on the other flip side, I feel like if Ethereum's merge does go through well, and Algorand can continue to build the EVM, AVM compatibility, that only helps out Algorand. So I feel like Algorand is in a position to be a more valuable chain, maybe a top 10 chain in the next bull run, based on
Yep.
also adding what JT said. When we were buying, there was nothing available. And now we have many dApps. I don't know how many developers, but there seems like to be a new project dropping on Algorand every week. And my DMs be popping. I got a lot
Yep.
more interviews coming. So that's a good sign that people are building. Can you go back a little further to the left on the march?
Yeah, I want to bring that up actually real quick, but I do want to say too, like all these green days, it doesn't mean everything's been perfect. You can hover over them and see that, oh, degraded
Degraded.
performance, mainnet beta clock drift, and so forth. And actually, what's really interesting, if you go to the incidents report on Solana, which you don't have these types of incident reports on Algorand, which
Mhm.
is pretty interesting. But just on May alone, degraded performance, so forth, mainnet clock drift, mainnet beta outage. You go to April, same thing. There's at least like 6 to 10 incidents, it seems, a month, which pretty incredible that it still
Yeah.
maintains the value that it does.
Yeah, and right there again, it's like if you're gonna put, a $1 billion project on a blockchain, that would make me nervous again, because I'm like, I don't know what could happen at any time. And
Yep.
even just looking at the SALT conference, the guys, they didn't have the correct answers that I also, what did not like how they were answering questions. So just thinking about the SALT conference, I will only rock with Algorand or Near just based on presentations alone. So that already shortens the market up for me.
Absolutely. You got anything to add to that, David?
No, not really. You guys kind of hit on everything. I mean, obviously, the only thing I would say is I rewatched a little bit about what Sylvia was saying at the SALT conference today. I think Algorand Facts tweeted it out. His answer as far as like standardization. I think that's also key. And I think that throughout this bear market, builders are going to come into the ecosystem. New projects are going to start launching, and it's important that they realize that EVM compatibility, even though I know it's great that Algorand is building to this and having that, it's EVM is not the standard yet, right?
Nope.
There's still so many other things out there for builders to learn and to be able to build on, and I
Although
think
the AVAX
Algorand
guy really
still.
wanted it to be the standard.
Yeah, well, so many things
It'd
do,
be
right?
funny.
They want it that way because it benefits them. I mean, and their bags or their, whatever they're invested in, I'm sure. But and at the end, tech is moving so fast and evolving so fast that I think Algorand still has positioned itself, to be able to take a lot of the market cap for the future of where smart contracts and all those things go.
Yeah. Don't. I wouldn't rock with AVAX either. That's my biased opinion. Um, Views on Polkadot. Yeah, I've done some research on Polkadot. They got parachains, which are pretty much side chains. Based on what I learned about Polkadot, just on a more of an overview level, it doesn't seem like a bad project. Um, have I tried it? No, I have not used Polkadot. So if y'all got some, insights on it, even JT or David or anybody in the comments, let us know.
Yeah, I actually haven't used Polkadot. I haven't used a lot of the newer L1 chains besides Algorand, really. I mean, I used a couple back in 2017. Like, I even was a buyer of this blockchain called like Neo and this other one called like Metaverse back in like 2017 before the name was popular. Uh, but really, I mean, nothing I've used. I mean, granted, it's been a couple of years, but nothing I've used since then has really stood out to me, or research has really stood out to me like Algorand did.
You see,
And
I was
most of
rocking
the
with the Cosmos ones, which Terra Luna is a part of. I'm not, I kind of like those, but it seems more Ponzi-ish, not too really of a use case in the real world, other than just providing liquidity, which could have its use case. But as we seen, it wasn't good for that whole ecosystem when Luna went down.
Yeah, and that's the thing with Luna going down. It just shows, so many of these protocols have high yields and have, crazy money to be made. But where do those high yields even come from? Most of them are just, the inflation of tokens. So it's
Yep.
value that's really just brought out of nowhere, which ultimately is not going to hold long term.
Yep. Yep.
Sure, no, sure isn't. Um, are we gonna make new lows? Well, kind of JT pointed out. Hopefully,
Yeah, I mean, hopefully and hopefully not, obviously, because we all want to buy more, but we don't want to discourage new people from entering the space and builders building. But I was more so saying, hopefully the newer low is still higher than the macro low that we have put in. That way, if we perform just as well, we'll actually hit new highs as opposed to below our all-time high. But that being said, it is totally possible. It is very much so in the cards. The conditions for the macro economy do not look that great still. So I wouldn't be going all in hoping that we're not going to put in a lower bottom or a lower low. I mean, because it's
It's
certainly
always
possible.
important to keep dry powder. Keep a
yeah.
little bit of money because you can always buy lower, or
Yep.
even if it does pop. If we run and it goes to $1 and you miss it, right? Don't let the FOMO get to you. Wait for another good entry point because even if it runs from where we're at now, 40 cents, all the way to $1, it could still crash from $1 back to 60 cents. So
Usually it
that's
does because people take
exactly. That's the
profits.
hardest part about, swing trading or just buying any asset, especially if you watch it a lot, is not letting the FOMO of the run or the fall dictate whether you buy or sell or whatever you do. You got to have a plan.
Yeah, and to be fair, I mean, unless you are a trader, you really shouldn't be watching the market that much anyway. I mean, unless you're someone that has planned daily price swings or whatever, like, what's the point of looking at the market every day besides giving yourself some sort of emotional run, either in the good direction or bad direction, you know?
Yep.
So do we want to, what's the next topic we want to move on to?
Let's move on to governance. This has been a really interesting topic, at least question one of the Algorand governance discussion, which would essentially grant people in DeFi essentially more rewards and more votes, which has been the part of a lot of contention. There's a lot of people that don't agree just with the basis that of how the votes would be determined. A lot of people just think that one algo should be one vote and so forth. And then there's other people that are bringing attention to TVL issues, whether it be how we can manipulate TVL or just how it's maybe not that important of a metric regardless. Uh, there is
And
one
then you also
really.
have the whole idea that with what the foundation said, that each DeFi platform would be able to to pretty much create their own way of how they want to distribute the rewards and stuff, which could also cause some things, some questions to come and to arise there.
True.
Yeah,
I mean,
man. With the one algo, one vote, I kind of, at thinking about it more, I do like just one algo, one vote, how it originally kind of started. I Yeah, just based on what y'all saying too, it could be a lot of manipulation in terms of the platforms, or the 10 million, was it 10 million algo or total value lock in order to even be eligible. So
yeah.
that creates a little bias there anyway.
To be fair,
Uh,
there is only one project on DeFi Llama that has yet to break that 10 million
which
TVL
one?
metric. That's just Guard right now. I mean, technically Humble, but that's not being used. So that's all. There's two that are under the 10 million right now, but I think Humble was over it before they had to take their liquidity off. But that being said, I sort of agree with the one algo, one vote, but then I sort of don't because, to some degree people are like, oh, it's not democratic the other way, but it's not democratic for it to be one algo, one vote either because
That's true.
then you're just voting based on the size of your wallet. So I am interested to see if there is a way that they could balance that, and I do appreciate their attempt because it is true that that more people that use DeFi are just average people like you and I, as opposed to the institutional investors. So in theory, it could give average investors more of a say as opposed to right now, where we basically have very little of a say, and all of the whales can just really determine the outcome of the vote. So I'm not fully sold on the one algo, one vote thing, but Shaper of Entropy was his
Yeah.
name on Twitter. He brought a very important discussion to everyone's attention. And if you go over to his forum on Algorand.org, you'll see that he basically explained how he inflated the TVL on Tinyman testnet by about $20 million and went through exactly how he did it, and then actually decided to do it in real life. And he created this new token, two new tokens, ITVL and GTVL, and has basically got it up to 6.2 million TVL. It's the second most liquid pairing on Tinyman right now. So
What?
there, yeah, it is. It's pretty wild,
That's-
actually. If you go to Tinyman and you click off the hide unverified asset pairs, you'll see that these two tokens that he made are the two most liquid assets. I mean, just in this pairing and not in other pairings, but yeah, are the two most liquids. The TVL that's added is about 6.22, and if I load up DeFi Llama, you can see the spike in Tinyman's TVL. Let's see. Let's move this a little bit. Oops, sorry. I don't like how they changed this, actually. They just updated it a little bit, and it kind of sucks. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, like how the hell did he like do that? I know you went through the article, but what's
All
the
right,
I
so
would, yeah,
this
I would,
it's kind of hard to see, but this little bump right here was 18 million on May 28th and has risen to 26 just about by May 30. So within 2 days, it's gone up just about 6 to 7 million, almost exactly what this TVL is right here, which is pretty
yeah.
impressive.
If you want to see, well, and for anybody in the audience who's watching, you can, obviously go find this guy on Twitter. And then he has the forum where he, details exactly how he was able to add, use, pretty much about 3 algo and 10,000 USDC to create that pool and show the inflated TVL. And, his idea was, this could be done on a much larger scale as well. So it's like, TVL is just kind of like, and I know there's a lot of division right now within the Algorand community on, why are we putting so much weight on this TVL metric when it can be so easily manipulated? And also, there's so many other things to drive value from as far as a blockchain, right?
Yeah. It-
Yep.
you
And
know what? So what I'm also I forgot what it was. The statistics on the blockchain with the most transactions, right? Isn't that Algorand in terms of just general transactions, not total value lock?
I'm honestly not 100% sure on that.
Okay, I've seen it somewhere. I have to look it up. So I know Ethereum is up there.
Yep.
Solana for sure. Uh, Something I'll have to write myself in.
But that being said, I do think TVL is still an important metric, and it is true that it can be manipulated. At least it was just shown to us that it can be manipulated. However, at least the way that it was shown to us in that example, I'm not going to go through the entire example here, but feel free to find this forum on Algorand on their forum page, or check out Shaper of Entropy's Twitter and go through all of the stuff. He definitely explains it pretty well. But that being said, you have to think about like what is the incentive to inflate TVL numbers to this degree, and really there isn't much except for in this scenario where higher TVL and DeFi metrics, if Algorand governance proposal 1 passes, then that creates the incentive with the higher rewards and higher vote. But if that, without that incentive being there, it's not like TVL, in my opinion, it's not like this is a common practice, because it's really a lack of incentive for anybody doing it. It's not like he's making money doing that. In fact, he probably lost a little bit of money just in transaction fees alone.
Right.
So it's there's not too big of an incentive to do it, so I don't think it's that prevalent, and I don't think it's a huge concern, but it is something to consider for sure. And I also think the concerns of DeFi, creating like this DeFi lobby and having them basically like take over governance by having
Yeah.
this basically double or triple weighted vote, I think that's a little overblown as well, because governance isn't set by code, it isn't set in stone, and honestly, if it didn't work out, the Algorand foundation could just be like, all right, we're gonna vote on something else this month, and we're gonna, you know what I mean, or like we're gonna switch up the way it worked. It's just basically an experiment, and it's not 100% whatever we vote on
Yeah.
is or whatever we want is gonna happen. It's
No.
I
I
don't
guess
know.
it just comes down to the part that the fear is that if this does get passed, and if there are big players who want to manipulate the governance and be able to take control of how it votes, they could work their way into a DeFi platform, and then have access to manipulating future votes. And then it could come down to, well, if the foundation did propose to take that away, what if the people who've have that extra voting power don't want to release it, and then it becomes a fight to have something like that pulled back. I don't know. I do think it's a little, you know, I don't know. Here was one of the posts, I guess, that I made that in where my thought process goes, and I haven't gone super deep with it, but we just now with this first governance measure are seeing DeFi platforms use governance, right, with
Yeah.
AlgoFi's Vault and with Folks Finance. Like, my only thought process, and I know everything has to move a million miles a second in tech, but like maybe we're moving too fast in trying to,
Yeah.
okay, let's already give more power to DeFi platforms when we haven't even seen one fully, work its way through. So my thought process would be delay this type of vote. Like, I'm not saying it's bad or we should just axe it already, but maybe give more time to see how, governance and DeFi work, and then maybe we can come up with a better idea once we have more statistical data to go off of. That would be where I come from, but I am leaning towards option B, which is keep the status quo, just because of that. I don't think there's enough
Yeah.
information out there to really want to make that type of drastic change, even though Stacy seems very geared towards TVL, TVL, TVL. But, I feel like, maybe not, a partnership like FIFA won't bring in TVL to DeFi, but I feel like natural adoption of a blockchain, that's what brings TVL, right? Like, people may
Yep.
get into Algorand via FIFA or LimeWire or whatever it is, but it's kind of like us. Once we kind of got into it, then we kind of, we start digging and we learn more, and we figure out about different things. We get our own wallets, and then we start seeing DeFi and swapping and other ASAs. Like, that's a natural progression. And I think there's more, that as a network effect, it can grow that way versus trying to just, not cheat, but just try to, pump it and get it there faster. I guess. I don't know. I guess I'm just saying it's not. I don't think it's
Yeah.
as needed
I
to get there so fast.
I agree and I disagree. And the reason I disagree is primarily because other chains don't have a governance structure that's competing with their DeFi. So
Yep. That's
I
facts. Yep.
mean,
Well,
Misha,
doesn't
Misha,
Cardano kind of though? Because they have like a soft staking thing as well, right?
yeah, it's soft staking, but then again, they only have one app on their TVL is pretty low, so it's not like I'm
Yeah.
sure they're trying. I'm sure they're having conversations in their community on how to increase their TVL. If we're being honest,
Well, Like what I
My
see, one big thing is that Algorand needs to move the vote directly to the Parrot wallet, so that way we could just vote on chain. It'll make things a lot smoother and better.
Yeah, the voting process itself could be better for sure. But my thoughts align. I know we talked about this once before, but with Michel's thoughts from C3 protocol and so forth, uh, he laid it out pretty extensively on why he believes the Algorand governance is handicapping the DeFi ecosystem, and I 100% agree with his thought process here. Now, it is true that this proposal might not be the best one. But I do appreciate that they're at least considering it because I'm still undecided on which way I'm going to vote because part of me fully believes that we need to do something to promote DeFi more and create an environment that where governance is competing less with DeFi. And I totally agree there, but I also agree with a lot of the concerns of one algo, one vote, the manipulation of TVL, and so forth. So I hear all of that. I'm a little bit undecided on which way I'm going to go. I do think a lot of the doom and gloom rhetoric of like the worst case scenarios, I think those are a bit overblown, but uh, yeah, like I said, I just don't. I don't know if this is the best way to go about it, but I do agree that we need to do something.
Yeah, and that's
So
right,
for
and that's why I
y'all,
feel like if we just delay it a little bit, right? Like
Yeah, and
or maybe
you made a good.
Stacy and the foundation come out and have another Twitter space or another something where the community
Yeah.
can ask questions and at least elaborate to hear from them, because obviously, I mean, with the inflated numbers that the guy entropy, whatever his Twitter handle was, what he's showing. I mean, I also saw that Tiny Man CEO today was tweeting out that they're trying to fix that, but
Mhm.
there, even then it lies, there's, so they're, we're figuring things out, but we don't have a complete picture. And so I just think maybe postponing that vote, or obviously going with the status quo for now, is the best option.
Yeah, and I agree with your prior point that this was only the first round that things like Guard and Folks Finance and AlgoFi were around, so there weren't too many people that used them, just probably based off of fear for smart contract risk or what have you, that were waiting for at least one or two governance periods to go by with no issues before they jumped in as well. So there might have been this next period even a more natural progression into DeFi just because the last 3 months went so well. And the next 3 months might go so well that more people will enter DeFi through those avenues as well. So I do agree that maybe they should have waited to see if the transition would have happened more naturally after a couple periods went off with these new innovations without a hitch. Because I do personally think that there would have been a more natural flow into DeFi regardless because of what I had just mentioned. So
Yeah.
I definitely agree with your point there. And this entire discussion, I was 100% in camp A before, but I've
yeah,
definitely on the
I
fence.
changed too. Yeah, and I agree with JT. You said about like testing these dApps and smart contracts. I do the same thing. I take my time with it. The first time I used the vault, I definitely did not put all my algos in there in case something went wrong. And now I know that it's still going smooth, so I'll put more algos on next time. And then
Yeah.
yeah, I just kind of slowly, test everything out before I go all in. So
Yeah, I don't know. It's just interesting because you also have to look at, like, right now. I mean, obviously, if the protocols, DeFi protocols that are active right now were to get double voting power, I mean, AlgoFi would have a sizable amount of power compared to certain other DeFi platforms that
well,
are
let's
out
be
there.
clear, JT. We're talking about the double reward system. Can you break that down? Because I'm a little confused.
All right,
If
so
you
basically, at least the way it was explained in the all hands on deck community is so traditional governors would be rewarded, and then DeFi users would also be rewarded, essentially. However, if you do both through like a vault or something, you're considered a governor over here, but also a DeFi user over here. So essentially, you'd get both pools of rewards would meet to you, essentially, if that makes sense.
yeah, okay.
And also, we should make a point too that it wasn't completely free for this person to get $6 million worth of TVL or inflated TVL. He's put in over $10,000 of his own money in USDC to do some of this. So it's not it
No,
it,
yeah, and the average
it
person's not going to go and do this
no,
because the average person
I'm
would,
not.
like you said,
That
he's not
person's
making
crazy.
money. He's not making
He was
money
just
from
to
this.
prove a
It's
point.
more exactly,
He
but
must be really rich to prove a 10K point.
Yeah, I mean,
Well,
unless the
there's
smart contract got exploited, there's not really
yeah,
any
very little risk.
he can just take his USDC out of the pool at any point. He's just, it is literally just to prove a point. But
Prove a point, yeah.
who has an extra 10 grand just to be manipulating TVL by 6 million? And hopefully, in the grand scheme of things, 6 million would be a drop in the bucket. I mean, you have TVL in the billions on some chains. So, like, even if somebody did want to do that to manipulate it to a significant degree, if we had a lot of TVL, would take a good amount of money. Like, that must be noted.
Yeah,
Yeah. You would need
I think
a
it's
hedge
also
fund or
just
something like that to
yeah,
do it.
yeah.
Yeah,
I think it's
and
just
then
more
again, you have to go
harder.
back to the like, what do they get out of doing that? Like, what is the benefit of doing so? And I guess in this situation, the benefit could be higher voting power, which could happen. But um,
See, the thing about this governance, which it's like we're making decisions, we're not making like the full foundational decisions of what's actually happening on the blockchain. So that's a
yeah,
good part of why if you did try to take over governance, you're not going to control that down much.
and governance
Yeah,
is, I mean, realistically, unless, I mean, it's possible, but unless, which, because I believe part of the transaction fee funds the foundation. I might be wrong. Hopefully somebody can
I
uh,
think it's for
uh,
carbon credits now.
some of it, yeah, definitely is used for that as well. But, and if I am wrong, either way, at some point the governance foundation is going to run out of money. So, like, what
Yep.
is going to be the point of governance at that point anyway? There really won't be. The governance is there just to determine how the foundation spends some of its money, not even all of its money. Because if you look through that latest transparency report, which I know somebody wanted us to mention, I didn't give it a quick read, but it goes through all of the things that they spent their Algorand on, and a good majority of those none of us voted on. So, like,
Mm.
it's
Yeah,
a
where's that link at?
uh, I'll see if I can find it after this point. But essentially, governance is basically there to determine how the foundation, uh,
The
spreads about its
algos
resources. But
evolve.
eventually, its resources are finite. They're gonna eventually run out anyway. So even if governance has a stronger control by the DeFi organizations, I mean, it wouldn't be forever anyway. It wouldn't be at the blockchain level or the technical level of the tech. It would
Nope.
only be at how the foundation spends its resources, which I don't think would be all that detrimental anyway. And you have to think about it on the other side. If DeFi got so big that it had a DeFi lobby because it had 2 to 3x the vote, then our TVL metrics would be insane. And that would probably be a great thing for
Good
Algo
thing.
in the
Yep.
long run. It would probably be making headlines left and right because DeFi would grow to or at least the TVL metrics on DeFi Llama would grow exponentially in theory. So, um, I don't know. I'm not as doom and gloom as some of the people bringing up some of these downside risks, but there are definitely downsides to option A. There's plenty of upsides as well, but nothing in life is without goods and bads. That's for sure.
Facts.
yeah. I mean, some of it, you do have to go back and think that, Stacy and the people who are bringing these measures up within the foundation, do have a good idea and a good handle on what they're doing. But, like I said, I think it's also good that there are people in the community who find these things and see them and bring up the discussion just so people are more
Yep.
informed when they go to
Yep.
vote. Because a lot of people,
Yeah.
can just be led astray in voting, especially when that foundation, by default has a way in which they will lean, because that can, for a lot of people, make someone's decision just by, oh, the foundation's voting A, I'm going to vote A because I have no other idea of why I would
Yep.
want to vote B. So I just think
Yep.
it's good to have discussion and obviously see multiple views on why the goods and bads to each.
Yeah, 100%. I completely agree. And just to clarify what you said, the foundation says what they want to vote, but they don't actually vote, so they're not voting with their algorithm. But yeah, I completely agree that these discussions are absolutely necessary, and they make everyone in reality a more informed voter. I mean, each and every one of you listening to this that are Algorand governors are going to vote any which way that they please, but it certainly makes it easier to vote and feel confident about a decision when you have more of the information. So hopefully we provided some insight, and definitely check out I forget his name already, but check out on the Algorand page right here. It's forum.algorand.com. You'll be able to find Evolving Algorand Governance posted by an Anon account 4 days ago. You'll be able to really find the whole details of the manipulation and everything and really read it for yourself and see what you think.
Things are sure getting interesting, y'all. Sure getting
Yes,
Yeah,
interesting.
absolutely.
Shaper of Entropy was his Twitter.
Oh, there
Hey,
we
so
go. There
let's
we
talk
go.
about some of those. Wait, what?
Oh,
Let's
he was
talk
just
about that Horowitz 4.5 billion investment into crypto.
yeah. Let's do it. I will pull up that link that you
So what
sent.
what you know, someone's out there as bullish as us. So this is a good sign to read these articles. I like to stay up to date.
I don't even think I've seen this article. What is it?
He threw
It's
it in the chat a little bit
yeah,
before
yeah,
we went live. Let's
Anderson
see.
Horowitz, yeah, Andreessen Horowitz, excuse me. Well,
Yep,
yeah,
raises
so
$4.5 billion for a crypto fund to take advantage of bargains in a down market.
buying the
That is
dip. That's
that
about how
is
you buy
a
the
Yeah,
dip.
talk about buying the dip.
that's a lot of money.
Yeah,
Silicon Valley firm announced a new $4.5 billion fund for backing crypto and blockchain companies on Wednesday. Let's see. They liken the long-term opportunity in crypto to the next major computing cycle after PCs in the 1980s and the internet in the 1990s and mobile
so
computing in the early
uh,
2000s.
these guys are
Bear
behind
markets,
Lyft,
bear
Pinterest,
markets are often the
Slack.
best opportunities to come about. All right, go for it. Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, just the little background info. They invested in Lyft, Pinterest, Slack, Coinbase. So they're obviously know how to pick them right, and they have the capital. Yeah, that's towards the bottom, and
So
they're
did it?
seeing
Did they
the
go
every 10 year
into?
trends of
Did they go into
technology.
any specifics on which cryptos or anything they're wanting to? I see
Well,
Avalanche open.
yeah, Avalanche, Dapper Labs. So it seems like they're another company that is investing in everything. And
Yeah,
so I can see them eventually, finding like Scaramucci and them and get educated and put some
Yep.
bread in the Algorand. But overall, how I'm seeing it is that if these guys are buying the dip, there's no reason that we shouldn't be bullish as well. That's kind of my whole point of this article is that they're seeing the deals. So I think, especially for myself, I look around to try to find the best deals as well. And I keep,
Yep.
we know that Algorand is in a great buying zone based on Fibonacci and everything that is happening. And as JT pointed out way earlier, we have a lot of upside potential when we get
yeah,
back to a bear running market. But yeah, that's huge. 4.5 billion. How y'all
yeah.
feeling about that?
I,
That's really bullish in my opinion.
yeah, that's
Just obviously,
it is a lot of money. I mean, it would be nice, obviously, for us Algorand bulls if it was an Algorand fund, but it
Of course.
is also good to be aware of just what's happening in the crypto sphere in general. And, it is a bullish sign. And granted, some funds are wrong, so you don't want to jump in just based on one fund being bullish. But I do think that it is, it adds to the context of everything that we've said here so far.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
because crypto is still over, what 1.3 trillion in total, right?
Yep.
And if these companies are putting in billions, seeing other crypto regulation, like they're about to, I believe in the U.S. The last article they were talking about moving Bitcoin and let it be regulated by like the futures and all those type of committees, which is a good sign that shows that Bitcoin is becoming a commodity. And if you're doing like an ICO or IDO, you're going to be pushed into a different regulatory body. And
I will say this, just because we were talking about the whole situation with the governance vote, the foundation just tweeted out a response to the forum vote. If you want to bring it up and read it, we don't have to, but they did just post something.
what they say?
I will
Let's
see if
see.
I can pull it up.
Yeah, the foundation just tweeted it out.
All right, let's see. Based on feedback and community engagements, please read our update and clarification for governance vote. All right, let's see. I'm going to assume that this is it right here, this response. All right, should I just read it? It's only 2 paragraphs. You want me to read it?
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Let's do it. All right. All right, so let's see. We are aware that DeFi Llama TVL is imperfect and can be distorsive, no matter if this is done on purpose or inadvertently. Our intention is not to use TVL from DeFi Llama as it is. We are going to define reasonable policies for TVL to be counted. Not reaching a minimum minimal activity or liquidity could be one of the criteria to exclude an asset, for example. We will introduce the necessary adjustments to TVL in the computation of the governance stake to help minimize the distortions and also be more fair towards new and innovative projects, and to use and towards sectors of DeFi that are put at a disadvantage by using TVL alone as a criterion. At the beginning, the reliance on external measurement will be stronger while we develop more accurate measurements. That's the reason why, listening to the strong community feedback, we are considering taking this opportunity to reformulate part of the question. In particular, where it sets too rigid criteria based on TVL. We would like first of all to lower the barrier of entry to 1 million TVL to be adjusted by other criteria such as the actual activity and its persistence. And we would like to make it clear that we will continue the conversation with the community to improve our approach in defining participation of DeFi users in governance. And my takeaway from this is actually pretty interesting because it leads me to believe, which I've seen this discussion more, around more, especially in the foundation discussion, that they're working on creating or their own metrics essentially instead of just
Yeah.
relying on DeFi Llama like pretty much the entire ecosystem uses, which I think is good. I think more metrics, more ways to calculate things are important anyway, and it also touches on our concern that it might leave out other DeFi projects such as Guard that
Smaller
aren't at
ones.
that $10 million threshold.
Yeah.
Although to be real, they're not at the $1 million threshold either, but it is easier. It is easier to obtain that level.
Yeah. No, I think it's good. I mean, obviously, this is something as well that with, even though yes, the foundation does bring up these measures to vote on, it's good to at least know that you know, they pay enough attention to the community and actual, what people are thinking to give
Yeah.
answers, quickly. I mean, I feel like that's a pretty quick response
Most
from the
quick.
foundation as far as some of the things that have been brought up.
Yeah, shout out to the Algorand Foundation. Let's do some shout outs real quick to everybody in the chats.
Yeah,
Algo
shout out
gave
to
Adam.
Massimo from the foundation. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right, but he actually is very very active in this forum that Algorand has, and again, it's at forum.algorand.org. Yeah, really some great discussions happen there. It's basically like their Reddit, and it's pretty fantastic. But yeah, definitely let's shout out everybody in the audience. Go for it.
Yeah, we got Mel Monsprit or whoever, DJ Do, Algo Learner, Farragonme. I'm sorry if my slaughtering names. John, because you're bored. Shout out to because you're bored. Jack G, Phil Barker, O'Day the Rebel, Bad Taxi, Phil Barker, and if I miss anybody else, shout out to y'all. Appreciate y'all for all tapping in with us.
Yeah, smash that like button, everybody. It does a lot to,
Malachi,
you
shout out to
know,
Malachi.
Yep. Hey, the more people smash that like button, the more this algorithm will put these types of videos in front of new viewers and not just the people inside our bubble. So the more people you want to be aware of Algorand, the harder you should press that like button.
which in turn gets more people buying wallets, buying algo,
Exactly.
which in turn
Yep.
pumps the price. So let's go.
Let's go. Algo Learner,
It,
what's
it,
good?
it, it all builds on each other. We're just
Groove
a piece of
man.
the puzzle, but you have to support the whole puzzle.
Most
That
definitely.
being that being said, should we shout out a couple projects that we want to discuss before we get off of this? Because
Yeah.
I personally wanted to give a little bit of shout out to Folks Finance because I personally just think what they're doing. Let's see if I can load it up real quick. I think what they're doing is fantastic, and the more I use their app, the more I think it's probably going to be my leading lending protocol. I love AlgoFi,
Okay.
but there's something about Folks Finance that is kind of fantastic. And one of the things that they've recently introduced, which I think is going to be a game changer for the space and really just creates more capital efficiency and less friction, is the introduction of liquidity pool tokens as assets to borrow against. So you can provide liquidity to the ALG USDC pool on Tinyman, for example, take those liquidity pool tokens over to Folks Finance and post them as collateral to borrow against. And you can do the same thing with your Algo USD from PactFi, and same thing with your Algo G-Algo liquidity pool from Tinyman and PactFi so far. Those are the only two pairings is the Algo USDC pairings on Tinyman and Pact and the Algo G-Algo pairings on Tinyman and Pact. but it really introduces this idea that is kind of phenomenal in reality because you think about it, you just have these tokens that are worth something. They're worth the value of the liquidity in the pool. So why not be able to use those tokens as collateral and create a more capital efficient market? And also a little shout out that they allowed Planet Watch, the Planets token on there. So now you can borrow Planets tokens or what have you, which is pretty sweet. I will say AlgoFi has them beat in the sense that it's more all in one, so you can trade on there and you can just do more things. They've got a nice farming and staking. But just for a pure lending protocol in and of itself, I actually really like Folks Finance. And I like the way they incentivize you to pay back the loans too, because you get rewarded for paying it back. So basically instead of just getting the rewards in real time like AlgoFi does for lending and borrowing, the rewards you get for borrowing are paid to you as you pay back the loan. So you pay back the loan and you're given these here I'll just show it. You pay back the loan and you're given these rewards tokens, either FR, Algo, or so forth, and you can exchange those instantly for algo or whatever, or you can stake them for 2 weeks for even more algo than you would get instantly, which is pretty cool.
Mm.
And yeah, I just really like their setup, and I just want to give them a quick shout out. I don't know if you guys have any shout outs that you want to give to projects.
Yeah, I got a couple. I think I can share mine. If give me 1 second, let me click on there. You might have
Is it
to.
is it Deradex?
Yeah, that was the
Yeah, pull
first one.
Yes.
that
I
up.
got two. Yeah, I got
Yep.
two.
Yep, that's a good one. I wanted to shout them out too because somebody mentioned them in the chats as well, asking,
Yeah,
is there are there any
that's for limit orders.
ASAs? Are there
Oh
any
wait, I think
ASAs
I
that we
took
want
it
to put?
away. Sorry.
You took it away. That's all
Yeah,
right.
there we
But
go.
somebody
Sorry.
was asking if there are any ASAs that we want to effectively short once Deradex goes live. And to be honest, yes, there are quite a
Yeah, I want to
few.
shoot a whole bunch.
The thing is about this though is it's an options platform. Deradex is, and in order to short something, you need a put contract, and somebody needs to be on the other side of that trade. So there might be
Yeah.
some there might be some ASAs in which you really still can't short because nobody's willing to take the other side of that trade because everyone knows it's going to zero. Um, but that being said, there definitely are some ASAs that could be short.
Yeah, and the one thing I wanted to post out about them is, if this is something that you might be interested in, their testnet is going live today at 3 p.m. EST. So just about an
Ooh, that's
hour.
exciting.
You'll be able to go over, jump on their testnet, try it out, and play around with it. And so I'm sure because it's testnet, there will be tons of, ability to, short, long, and do all kinds of things on stuff
Short
because
shorts.
people will be playing with fake money. So they're really cool, project. I know there's a lot of these things coming. FXD, or I think it's FXDX, is another thing that's trying to bring things like this, and even C3 protocol, down the road with state proofs and whatnot is coming. So, but this is also another platform project that I'm super excited about. And if you want to, you can join their Discord as well. They have one of those.
Yep.
And the other project that I really wanted to talk. Oh wait, do you have something else on Daredex?
No. Yeah, actually I do. Essentially, I'm just as excited as you are for my own personal use, but I'm also excited because it'll bring more attention to the space, especially because any big money actor, any institutional investor, any real size whales, they love derivatives, and primarily because they're a way to hedge your bets. They don't. Not everyone necessarily trades only derivatives, but say you have a good sized long position bag. 85% of your bag is stocks or crypto that is long. You might want to open up a short position just to hedge your bets, 5, 10%. That's literally what hedge funds do. The whole point of being a hedge fund is to kind of hedge your bets. So in my opinion, projects like these are going to just bring more and more big money and institutional money into the space and make it so really our DeFi ecosystem can't be ignored anymore. So I'm very excited about this, and I know I mentioned projects to short, but as soon as we're in a bull market, there are also many ASAs to long. So I'm not just
Oh my God, yes.
I'm not just an ASA hater over here. I'm just saying there
And
are a lot of scams, and if we can help them go to zero by getting some put contracts on them, I'm down to help.
what's some projects you think you'll go long on?
That's a good question. I have a list, and really, I haven't been putting too much thought into it because we're in a bear market. But
Mhm.
I am very much so interested. Even though I did just talk about folks finance, I do want some bank token just to primarily be part of AlgoFi. Um, Otherwise, to be honest, I really can't list off my list off the top of my head just because it's been so long since I've thought about it. Although if somebody else wants to give their list, I can look for mine. I literally have it written in front of me.
Well, I got one off the top. It's headline. It's something I would go long on in a bull market for sure. And
They just bought the algo options, I think,
yep,
Yep.
yeah,
which is
they're making
another
some good developments.
yeah, which is
Uh,
that's another derivatives platform, which is dope because honestly, like we don't have options yet on chain. So really, any project that brings them on chain, I'm 100% down.
Yeah.
yeah, so definitely
The
that one. And I'm looking at these NFT coins though, because it seems like they're going, they're going to pop more like Alchemon, Cosmic Champs. If Monsters got a coin in the bull market, I would definitely look into that. Probably DeFi too. Someone wrote.
Oh yeah, I'm
Speaking
still
of,
bullish on
since you
DeFi. I
did
just
that,
didn't. I only didn't mention DeFi because I feel like I've mentioned it every time I say what I'm holding. So I'm still holding DeFi. So just so you know.
this is the other thing that I wanted to bring to everybody. If you're not, watching what's being built in the bear market, I really think you're going to miss out. And the team that's behind Fractal Monsters, make sure to go join their Discord, follow them on Twitter. They have a lot of really good, standout guys that have been in the Algorand community for a while. Some people from Flemish Giants and things like that.
Out to
But
Algobama.
yeah, and so, but yeah, the Fractal Monsters is going to be like a pretty, almost like I can't remember. I'm dropping the name of what the game was, but
Digimon.
no, not Digimon, but it's more of a, you'll be able to buy these, and they're all unique. So all the ones that start out won't be, they'll all have different traits and characteristics and things, but you'll be able to pretty much like Tamagotchi. Is that it? Like you'll be able to grow them, mature them, and whatnot into bigger, and better stats and stuff. Not only to grow them, obviously, to be able to sell them on their own marketplace, which,
Oh, there was a game like that when we were growing up where you got to raise them.
yeah,
You got to feed them food and shit.
exactly. Yeah. So there's going to be that whole aspect of this. You'll be able
Yeah.
to feed them food, and obviously each one has a different, thing. So this will be something, and this is honestly a place in which Algorand I feel like is lacking right now is the games. Right? It doesn't
Yeah.
have those, fun games that really bring communities together and whatnot yet. So I'm bullish that this Fractal Monsters could be one of the ones. I participated in their first two. Testings of their shuffle, and both of them were really solid. There was only a few issues on the first one, but the second one that just happened
I want
yesterday
to give
went really well.
another
But
shout
no, yeah,
out
I'm
too after
super
this.
bullish on this, and obviously you can come look at their team and whatnot on their page. But like I said, I would come join their Discord. It's a lot of fun. You can also see a lot of the leaks of the art. They have not just plant ones. I know that's the ones that are here, but there's like all different types of elements and stuff. So super excited about their launch. As they're getting closer.
I want to give another one shout out too because you're talking about games. So shout out to Fractal Monsters. But Avatars, if y'all haven't seen it, I opened the pack this weekend, and their game, I believe, has launched or is launching. It's another like card type game, and it's gonna be pretty dope too, honestly. And I've seen some of their early art a few months back, so I know they're developing. These are some guys, I believe they're out in like Clackamas, Oregon, and I'm sure they don't even have like a foundation or a grant, anything. They just put their own money up. They've been building for the last 8 months, and their Discord is popping too.
Awesome, awesome. Yeah, I've
Yeah,
never heard
another
of these
game.
guys.
Yeah, yeah, Avatar. Yeah. So shout
Cool.
out to those guys.
Awesome. Well, that's
So
that's
yeah,
great.
gaming is coming up. Gaming is coming up.
It
It's
is
always
it's a big part of the world, and it's only right that it makes its way onto the blockchain. I think it's only right that it makes its way onto the best blockchain. So I'm
Heck
here
yeah.
for it. Oh,
I
somebody's
believe.
saying that Choice Coin has a music video. It's funny. Is that real?
Oh yeah,
Oh
yeah,
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 I
yeah.
think it
It's a
is. It was like
Nigerian
a while
artist.
ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. It's a
I,
funny song too. I shared it on my Twitter.
I know market makers looking to short choice coin once their decks or once they get a live thing, which I don't mean, like I said, I don't know who would be willing to bet long. Maybe the founders are going to be the ones to bet their own longs there, but I know a lot of people are talking about wanting to short that one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I
What's
mean,
the
with
beef?
call and put contracts, not somebody doesn't necessarily have to be long on the other side, but somebody has to be willing
Need to buy.
to write
Yeah.
that put contract and then take that premium, which could be a risky position to be in for sure. Uh,
Yeah,
but
shorting man
hey,
is dangerous. Definitely, you got to short for a shorter amount of time.
They call it short for a while, right?
Yeah,
Short.
only for a few days from what I've seen.
That's why I feel like even what you showed with using AlgoFi, that's a very simple way to short or long,
Yep.
using AlgoFi.
I do
If
it
you
only
haven't
on
seen it, go
Algorand.
check out JT's video on that because it's a safer way. I feel like, and you could obviously liquidate your position at any time if you feel like it's going the wrong way, and but
Yep.
it's a safer way than some of the options and contracts that are out there can be very very risky.
Hey,
Yep,
what's
that's
good
true. I
from
mean, you get
France?
yes. What's going on? How you doing? Welcome. That is true. That is a good point that you made. However, with options contracts, you do get that advantage of more leverage without having the need to like put up collateral to buy against, to borrow against, and so forth. And uh, unless you borrow something to short on AlgoFi and then sell it and then post that USDC or whatever as collateral and then keep doing that, you're less than 1x short of your position. You know what I mean? The most you can do is like
Yeah.
what, like 60 or 70%. So like on one particular click through, you're not even going to be 1x short of your position. So for some people, there are some people that like to be a little bit more leveraged on their hedges than that, whether it be 2x, 5x, or what have you.
Yeah.
That being said, I feel like this was a great episode. Is there anything else anyone wants to add to the discussion before we wrap it up?
Um,
Oh, awesome. Thank you for just subscribing and liking. Feel free to, I'm not sure whose channel you're tuning in on, whether it's mine or David or C. Will's, but definitely go check out all of our channels here at JT Invest in You, at Crypto for Change for David, and Passive Income Network with C. Will. Give us all a like, give us all a subscribe. It definitely help all of us grow our channels and grow this discussion even further.
Most definitely.
For sure.
Awesome. Well, on that note, I think it's about time to wrap up.
Yep. Hey, peace, y'all. Appreciate y'all for tapping in.
All right. Take care, everybody. Appreciate everyone that tuned in. And as I said, give us a like, give us a subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next episode. Peace out.